Welcome back to another episode of Bassin with Captain Lou. I never gave you guys a review of my Vexus. So as I mentioned, my Vexus birthday is coming up this summer, and I've had it for 4 years now. It was my personal boat. It still is my personal boat, obviously, but it's actually my work boat. I mean, I run my guide business out of this boat. So I've been guiding now for close to 2 years with this boat, and I love it. I mean, I know I said the good, the bad, the ugly, but it's just information that I want to share with you guys. A lot of people are very excited, as they should be, when they buy their brand new boats and they give reviews right off the bat. But the reason why this review is different is because I have been on this boat for many, many hours for 4 years. I fish out of this boat a lot. Come along with me. I'm going to take you guys from a bow to stern walkthrough of the boat and talk to you guys about it in a little bit more detail. So starting from the bow, I have the Minn Kota trolling motor. It's a 24 volt, 80 pound thrust. Great trolling motor, for me at least. The only change that I've done to the trolling motor itself is I changed the rope. I've changed it from a rope to stainless steel, and it's been great. Not that I had issues with the rope. The only thing is I saw that I was fraying a little bit, and I wanted to make a permanent change with the stainless steel. Now, the only issue that I had with the trolling motor has been great. The only issue is I had to change the motherboard of the trolling motor, but it wasn't the trolling motor's fault. This is the first boat that I've had that has the trolling motor dish, meaning that's where the trolling motor sits flush with the deck of the boat. Unbeknownst to me, I didn't know that there was a drain underneath the middle of the foot pedal. So over the years, what happened was debris and, soft plastic baits and stuff like that clogged up that port. I didn't know that, and the entire dish filled with water, and the motherboard got fried because it was sitting in water for too long. But other than that incident, the trolling motor has been great ever since I've done that change. So again, it's not the trolling motor's fault that happened. But be aware, if this is the first time you have this type of system for your trolling motor, there is a drain down there that you have to be conscientious of and clean out every once in a while. So staying at the bow, you're going to notice that I had a unit up front. That's a Helix 7. It's just not working at the moment. It hasn't been working in quite some time. I've had a lot of issues with that unit. I've taken it back to Humminbird. Humminbird fixed it, and it died again. And the reason for it is because I think there's water intrusion coming in. Me personally is based because of how that is positioned up front at the bow. If you guys are going to look very closely, there's a plate there, but the screws on that fiberglass area on that plate are tiny little screws, meaning it doesn't bite enough. So it doesn't form a nice seal around that area, and I think that water has intrudes in there and has caused that system to fail. But if you guys are electronics guys, I would use a mount and make sure that your unit is out off the boat into its own mount, because that system right there I do not like. So you're going to notice that there's the trim and navigation light toggle switches are at the bow of the boat in this little corner next to the fish finder. I don't like the location there, and here's the reason why. When you beach the boat and you got to get yourself on board, that's the only area that you're going to be able to step on. And a lot of the times I find myself avoiding that, or find myself telling my clients or my guests to please be careful and not step in that general area. And the first place they're going to step most of the time is in this general area, and I don't want them to break my toggle switches. Have I had a toggle switch break yet? No, but there's been a lot of close calls because I have to be very conscientious when people board on that corner of that boat because of those toggle switches. So something to keep in mind. Another thing that I wanted to share with you guys in regards to the paint job of the boat, I stay on top of my boat religiously. Every time I pull the boat out of the water, I'm wiping it down. In my case, I'm using Slick Mist, or I'm using a Star Bright vinyl guard for the seats and stuff like that. I am meticulous as keeping the boat pretty as much and as long as I can. However, something that I don't like is that the paint cannot handle too much abuse. You're gonna see in this shot that there's a few scratches here and there. I mean, it's a 4-year-old boat. I fished the boat a lot. It's inevitable that there's gonna be scratches. The problem is that it's just such a light paint job that every time something hits it, it's gonna leave a mark. So If you like to keep things pretty, you got to be very mindful of that, especially old docks with like nails hanging out of it, or people, you know, hitting the side of your boat with weights when they hook set or lures. If it hits your boat, it's going to leave a mark. So just be ready for that. So moving around the bow of this boat, that's one of the first things when I started fishing off this boat that I loved. I love the deck of my boat. Comfortably, 2 people could fish up here. A lot of people mention is like, oh, the bow of the boat is too narrow, and it's like, that's not a factor unless you're fishing at the bow of the boat. Even then, I do just fine. I mean, I'm at the bow right now. If I needed to flip or do something, I can go ahead and do that quite easily. But I mean, out here, it's like a freaking aircraft carrier out here for me, and I love it. Another thing is the stability of the boat. I mean, I'm swaying, the camera might move a little bit, but I mean, again, the boat is extremely sturdy. So as far as the size of the boat or the width of the boat, it freaking rocks. I love it. The deck consists of aluminum. There is no wood in this boat, as you guys know. So you're gonna hear creaks. I mean, I hear, you know, as you see me walking, you hear creaks, okay? Again, I fish out of this boat a lot, but the structural integrity of the area that creaks, it just creaks. It's a noisy, she's just a little noisy, but other than that, she's great. So my number 1 complaint of this boat is the seat pedestals. If you guys notice over here on my rear seat, that seat has never been removed. Reason being, I cannot physically remove it. It is so stuck in there that I can't remove it. I had a pedestal seat up here in the front, and I've removed it. It took me a lot of work to remove it. I will use it from time to time for some of my clients if they do want it, so I will do it. But I will make sure that I spray that down with silicone or WD-40 before I insert it inside the deck, because once it's in there tight. I don't know what it is. In my previous boat, I could remove everything with one hand. If I try that with this boat, I'm gonna dislocate a shoulder. Okay, so moving to the cockpit of the boat, the first thing you're gonna notice here on the side, on the gunnel here, is that I have a cleat on the captain's side over here. That has been one of my greatest additions because I could do everything as far as boat control around the dock with that cleat right there. I could utilize my dock stick, I could utilize a rope. Everything is right here. I don't have to get up to do anything because of that cleat right there. It's an additional cost to have that put on. And I know I mentioned that I did that when I went to the dealer, and I'm gonna talk to you guys about that in a moment. So the reason why I had to go to the boat dealer is because there was a recall early on when I got this boat. This is a 2019 model. The 2019s had something in regards to the position of the gas tank that they needed to move it a few inches. So I had to go to the boat dealership, and I got this boat out of Toho Marine up in Central Florida. So I had to take a drive up there. I live in South Florida, so I had to take the drive and leave the boat there for a couple of weeks in order for them to do that recall. And that's when I took advantage of the situation, and I went ahead and put that boat cleat on when the boat was laid up for a little bit. But ever since then, I have not had to take the boat up to the dealer. I did have to go to another dealer, a local dealer, for something, and I'm gonna cover that in a little bit when I talk about the outboard. So as you guys can see, my outboard is a Mercury Pro XS 4-stroke 115. It's the highest outboard that this particular model of Vexus can take. It's a great outboard. It has the power that I'm looking for being a 115, and plus the maintenance is really, really easy. That's a whole different video, but the maintenance is really easy. I do all the maintenance myself, all except the water pump change. I go ahead and hire out for that. But other than that, I do everything else myself. So 2 things in regards to the outboard that you have to be aware of. And it's not the outboard per se, but it's one of the accessories of the outboard. And in this case, it's the trim motor. I had the trim motor fail about 1.5 to 2 years ago. I was out fishing with a buddy of mine, and it was working 1 second, and then the next, the trim motor was gone. And this was during the height of COVID. And there's back orders on stuff, and I had my fingers crossed that Mercury had a trim motor, and the dealership that I went to, they got a hold of Mercury, and Mercury indeed did have trim motors. So thank goodness, or trim pump. So thank goodness I was able to get that quickly replaced and have my trim working again. The other thing you're gonna notice is that my lower unit, the paint is peeling off of it. That started a very long time ago, early on when I got the boat. Again, during the height of COVID, it really started getting pretty bad. When I took the boat to the dealership to get the trim pump fixed, they said that the dealer, it says it's still under warranty. However, I have to take that lower unit back to Mercury. And to be quite honest, I did not want to do that. It's more of an aesthetic thing for me than anything else. So I haven't taken the time to get that repainted because it's not important for me. So those are the two things that happened to that outboard. Other than that, the outboard has been great. And then I mentioned that I do my own maintenance. The reason why that's a big deal is because it's so easy, and you're gonna save yourself hundreds and hundreds of dollars if you do the maintenance yourself. But again, that's a whole different video. So the next thing I'm gonna cover is the trailer. Overall, the trailer's been okay. It's been good. It hasn't given me any issues. Just two little things that you gotta keep in mind. The fenders, that paint will chip, and wherever it chips, it will rust on you. So if you know an auto body shop or something like that that does painting, that will paint that for you, I recommend you do that if you don't know that already. But that chip paint those areas will rust. The second thing that you gotta keep in mind is the trailer tires. I've had to replace one of my trailer tires because I overinflated it. So when it says max PSI of 65, I do 55, I do 10 less. Do not go to 65 because those trailer tires do not like that. Fortunately, I noticed it when I was on the road after leaving a fishing trip last year. There was like an egg in the middle of the tire. The trailer was feeling funny, and fortunately I didn't have catastrophic failure of that tire because I inflated it to the max PSI. A mistake on my part, of course. However, I learned from that experience, and I go 10 PSI less, and I haven't had any issues with my tires ever since. I go 55 instead of the max of 65. Another thing that you guys can see in this shot is that the bunk boards are still in good condition. The wood is still in good condition, and the carpet is still in good condition. When that fails, I'm gonna go ahead and change to a different system, and I'll do a video about that. But for the time being, the wood and the carpet on the bunk boards have been doing just fine, and it's 4 years into ownership. Two other accessories that I've added to the boat. One you guys probably saw when I showed you the outboard. I use a skeg guard. And the reason why I use a skeg guard, some say it's a gimmick. For me, it has paid for itself already. Out here in the Everglades, we have a lot of limestone, we have a lot of rock, and I've already bumped it or hit rocks with it. But because I have that skeg guard, it's protected my skeg, and it hasn't chipped it or anything like that. It's protected it. So I'm a believer of the skeg guard, and it was a worthwhile investment on my part to do that. Another accessory that you're gonna notice that I put on is a keel guard. I can't believe I didn't do this sooner. I installed that keel guard last year. My friend FD and a good buddy of ours, Dave, they helped me install the keel guard. It was a professional install. It came out perfect. I know that the way that the design or the keel design of this boat is a little bit different than your traditional aluminum boats. So there's word about that it can handle keel guards and stuff like that. I'm here to tell you that is not true. If you have a professional installer available, have a keel guard installed and you will not be sorry. Those things hold. I have had zero issues with my keel guard ever since I've installed it. So do yourself a favor and do that, and you're gonna minimize a lot of scars underneath the boat for having a keel guard. So there you guys have it, bow to stern coverage of the boat. I mean, I'm not gonna go into the storage and stuff like that. I mean, because there's millions of videos out there. I mean, if you guys want to, here's some B-roll in regards to the storage. I mean, I have one of my storage compartments is full of baits. My plastics are on one side and my hard baits are on the other. Again, it holds a bunch of rods in the middle. The rear storage is fantastic for my clients or for additional equipment that I need. I got plenty of storage in there. It's dry storage. So the boat overall has been great. And I hope you guys got something out of this video. Like the video, share the video, better yet, subscribe to our community. It is growing. And again, I hope you guys enjoy this video. Take care of yourselves.